The garage door was already half open when Marcus pulled in at 11 p.m., still in his work clothes, and what he saw made him sit in the car for a full minute before going inside. His neighbor, the guy who drove a 5-year-old Honda, wore the same 3 shirts on rotation and never once complained about money, was standing in his driveway holding a bank statement. Marcus wasn't supposed to see it, but he did. And the number on it didn't match anything about the way this man lived. That's the thing nobody tells you about wealth. It doesn't look like what you think it looks like. And the people who have it, really have it, not least a G-Wagon to look like it, have it, are quietly not doing 10 things that almost everyone else does without a second thought. Some of these will surprise you. One of them, near the end, might actually make you a little uncomfortable, because chances are you did it this week without even noticing. By the time this video ends, you're going to understand why two people can earn the exact same income and end up in completely different financial universes 20 years later. It's not about the paycheck. It's never been about the paycheck. Stick around because mistake number 7 is the one that quietly wrecks more people than any market crash ever could. And almost nobody talks about it. Let's start with something that sounds backwards. The wealthy rarely buy things to prove they're wealthy. That sentence should sit with you for a second, because it contradicts almost everything you see on Instagram. The loud spending, the flexing, the unboxing videos, that's not what wealth behavior looks like. That's what debt behavior looks like, dressed up in better lighting. There's a well-known finding from the book The Millionaire Next Door, where researchers studying actual high-net-worth Americans discover that most of them drove used cars, lived in the same modest house for decades, and never touched their principal. Meanwhile, the neighborhoods people assumed were rich were often full of people one missed paycheck away from disaster, because their entire net worth was strapped to their back in the form of a leased car and a mortgage they couldn't actually afford. The wealthy understand something painful and freeing at the same time. Nobody who matters is keeping score of your appearance, and the people who are keeping score aren't the ones who'll ever help you get ahead. Here's the second one, and it's sneakier. They almost never make a big financial decision the same day they thought of it. Think about the last time you almost bought something expensive because you were angry, sad, bored, or trying to celebrate. That's not a financial decision. That's an emotional transaction wearing a financial costume. Wealthy operators are the real ones, not the ones performing wealth for the camera, build in a forced pause, 24 hours, sometimes a week. Not because they're indecisive, but because they've learned the hard way that urgency is almost always manufactured by someone who profits from your impulse. Car salesmen know this. Marketers know this. Even relationships know this. The version of you that wants something at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday is rarely the same version of you that has to pay for it in 6 months. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because the next one isn't really about money at all. It's about attention. The wealthy protect their calendar like it's the actual asset, because it is. Time is the one resource that never comes back. And yet most people guard their bank account more fiercely than they guard their evenings. There's a shopkeeper I want to tell you about because his story stuck with me. He ran a small hardware store in a town nobody's heard of, worked 6 days a week for almost 15 years, and by every outward measure looked like just another small business owner grinding it out. But he had one rule that never bent. Every single morning before the store opened, he spent 90 minutes reading, thinking, and planning. No customers, no phone, just him and the next move. People used to joke that he was the laziest hardware store owner in the county because he showed up late. He wasn't late. He was investing in the one thing that actually compounds: clarity. 15 years later, he owned 3 stores and the building the first one sat in. The people who mocked him were still trading hours for dollars, wondering why nothing ever changed. That leads to a truth that stings a little. The wealthy treat their own thinking time as non-negotiable, while everyone else treats it as the first thing to sacrifice when life gets busy. Let's talk about something almost every financially anxious person does without realizing it, because this is where it starts getting personal. They check their bank balance obsessively, but they never check their net worth. Sounds like the same thing. It isn't, not even close. Checking your balance is a stress response. It's checking if you're currently okay. Tracking your net worth is a strategy. It's checking if your decisions over the last 90 days actually moved you forward. Wealthy people rarely panic check their checking account because they already know the number that actually matters. Assets minus liabilities, tracked monthly, sometimes quarterly. That single habit, reviewing net worth instead of a balance, rewires how you make decisions because suddenly a $5 coffee isn't the enemy, but a car loan on a depreciating asset absolutely is. You stop fighting the wrong battles. Now here's the reframe that changes how you'll see everything else in this video. Being wealthy was never really about how much you make. It's about how much of what you make you actually get to keep, and for how long you can survive without new income coming in. There are people earning $400,000 a year who are one bad quarter away from collapse, and there are people earning $80,000 who could stop working tomorrow and be fine for years. That gap isn't talent. It isn't luck. It's behavior, repeated so many times it becomes invisible to them and painfully visible to everyone watching from the outside. So let's keep going, because there are more of these, and the next one is the one I promised you earlier, the quiet one, the one that wrecks people slowly enough that they don't notice until it's too late. The wealthy almost never finance a depreciating asset for longer than they'll enjoy it. A car that loses value every single day, stretched across a 7-year loan, is one of the most common ways people quietly bleed their future income before they've even earned it. It doesn't feel dangerous in the moment, it feels responsible. You got approved, the payment fits the budget, everyone around you has one too. But that monthly payment is a monthly subtraction from every future version of you. Compare that to how wealthy operators think about debt. They'll happily take on leverage for something that appreciates or produces income. A property, a business, an education that raises earning capacity. But they treat consumer debt on a depreciating item like touching a hot stove. Not because they're cheap, because they understand math doesn't care about your feelings. Here's the sixth one, and it's the one that surprises people the most because it feels almost too simple to be true. The wealthy ask for help embarrassingly often, not because they're weak, because they've done the math on ego. There's a story about a 28-year-old software engineer, sharp, driven, the kind of person who solved every hard problem himself because that's what got him through school and into his job. For 2 years, he tried to figure out taxes, investing, and negotiating his own salary completely alone, out of a quiet fear that asking would make him look like he didn't have it together. He left almost $11,000 on the table in 1 year alone, between an unclaimed benefit, a badly structured retirement contribution, and a salary negotiation he never even attempted. The moment he finally hired a fee-only advisor for a single consultation, that one afternoon paid for itself 20 times over. Wealthy people don't see asking for help as an admission of failure. They see refusing to ask as an unnecessary tax paid entirely out of pride. And that brings us to the pivot, the part where everything you've heard so far gets turned slightly on its head. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Every single mistake we've covered isn't really about money. It's about identity. People don't overspend because they lack math skills. They overspend because somewhere along the way, spending became proof. Proof they made it. Proof they're not falling behind. Proof to a version of themselves still standing in a smaller house, still driving a worse car, still feeling not enough. The wealthy aren't smarter. Many of them aren't even more disciplined in the way you'd assume. What they've actually done, and this is the whole video in one sentence, is stopped needing money to say something about who they are. Once money stops being a message to other people, it becomes a tool again. And tools get used efficiently. Messages get expensive. Let's finish the list because there are a few more, and they hit different once you see them through that lens. They don't wait for motivation to manage money. They build systems so willpower is never required. Automatic transfers the day the paycheck lands before it ever touches a checking account long enough to feel spendable. Motivation is unreliable. Systems aren't. That's the entire secret hiding behind every disciplined, wealthy person you've ever admired. They're not more disciplined. They just made the discipline automatic. They surround themselves with people who make more than them, on purpose, even when it stings a little. Growth happens in discomfort, and financial growth is no exception. If you're always the smartest, richest person in the room, you've built a very comfortable ceiling. They read constantly, but rarely for entertainment alone, always circling back to something that sharpens how they think about risk, people, or money. Not because reading is trendy, because compounding knowledge behaves exactly like compounding interest. Painfully slow at first, and then suddenly undeniably fast. And the last one, the one that ties every single mistake together into one thread. The wealthy never confuse comfort with safety. A steady paycheck feels safe, a single employer feels safe. Staying exactly where you are feels safe, but comfort and safety are not the same thing. And mistaking one for the other is how brilliant, hardworking people wake up at 50 having built nothing that outlives their next paycheck. If there's one thing I want you to walk away from tonight with, it's this. Wealth was never really a number. It's a set of quiet, repeated decisions. The ones nobody claps for, the ones that don't make it into a highlight reel, the ones that look boring from the outside because they are boring. And that's exactly why they work. The version of you 5 years from now is already being built right now, tonight, in whatever you decide to do in the next 30 minutes after this video ends. That neighbor in the driveway, the one Marcus wasn't supposed to see, he didn't get there with one big win. He got there by quietly refusing for years to make the mistakes you just heard. If this inspires you, like it, share with your closed ones so they can benefit from it too, and subscribe to continue this journey with me.